On September 20th, 2025, I got a call from the quarry. They had just cleared out a BMW. By the time I arrived, it was already getting dark. The car was in pretty bad shape. The exhaust pipe was missing, the rear wheel was gone, and there was a lot of yellow mud all over it. The axle was also bent upwards, and the interior was a complete mess, but the car was cheap. I spent less than 2,000 yen to tow it back. I think if the two of us fix it up again and sell it to one of your classmates, we can each make at least 5 figures. But this car is really in bad shape. The front shock absorbers are completely wrecked. The springs are this thick and they're exposed outside. The headlights are filled with water, and there's even green mold growing inside. Looks like it's been sitting unused for quite a while, but judging from the appearance of the engine, it's still pretty clean, even in the nooks and crannies, though there's a lot of mud. As long as the engine itself is fine, the two of us should be able to fix everything else. There are even more dents on the rear of the car, and they're really tough. It kind of feels like the yellow earth at the foot of a mountain. And I also noticed that the repair manual in the car is for a 2009 BMW F800 touring bike, but what's written on it is Niawen. I'm not quite sure what that means. The front wheel is even more pitiful, only this brake hose is still attached, and without this hose, I think the front wheel will have to go too. Another brake hose was also forcibly yanked off and broken. It's really tragic, so I think it's necessary to once again put my dogged determination to use. Speed up the process of dismantling the whole bike. Why does this bike give me the feeling that it's kind of like it feels like a flood-damaged car, or as if it fell into a vat of mushy rice porridge. The famous ancient Greek poet Ma Zhuang once said, "Once a seed of doubt is planted, you must check if it has sprouted." Now I'm increasingly suspicious that this bike fell into water. If that's really the case, towing this bike would be a total loss. I pulled off the discarded pipe from the roof of the car, and there was no sign of water inside. Maybe the rubber ring sealed it off. Then I yanked out the air filter. Sure enough, there was some silt and mud on top of the engine, but the throttle was closed and actually quite clean. I also pulled out the dipstick and saw no sign of water contamination, so I can basically conclude that no water got into this engine, but I also couldn't measure any oil on the dipstick. But just judging from the appearance of the engine, I don't think this car should have any major issues. Right now, I think the biggest problem with this car is that there's just too much mud inside. I'm worried that the wiring might have gotten wet and oxidized, but as long as these two control modules are fine, any other minor issues are really nothing for the two of us. This is the inside of its control module. It's completely clean, and the waterproofing is really excellent. Then I pulled out the other module, and the pins inside the connector are in great condition, with no signs of oxidation at all. The connector itself is also very clean. It's just that there's a bit of blue mud on the outside. None of these connectors show any signs of water intrusion. I think the main reason is that each connector has a waterproof rubber ring. German engineering really is impressive. I continued to remove its high voltage coil, and the inside of the coil is spotless. Then I casually took off its plunger, and while I was at it, I applied some WG-40 through the plunger opening. To prevent the connecting rod from seizing, I also hooked up an external battery. I'm planning to connect it directly to the starter to see if the engine's internal components can still operate normally. Used an external battery to check the engine. It can still run, so today the two of us are going to work on its wiring. But this car doesn't have a key, and my self-taught amateur skills are useless here. I can't pick this lock. I've confirmed that this lock is out of my area of expertise, but that's okay. Don't forget, we've got guts. I can just hotwire it directly. Although the power is already connected and the horn works, the start button doesn't respond. It probably needs the key. There's an anti-theft feature here, which makes the start button unusable right now. Some motorcycles can bypass the anti-theft by adding a resistor here, but I don't know if that'll work for this one. Let's give it a try. I want to start this engine with the lowest possible cost before doing anything else.
Yeah. Damn, what just happened? Damn, did my computer just burn out?
Just now, I don't know what happened, but suddenly there was a big puff of smoke. I thought his computer burned out, but when I touched the case, it wasn't hot, so it probably isn't a computer issue, but there's a really strong burnt smell here. Sure enough, I found this connector under the regulator. It's connected to the car's external power supply, kind of like a cigarette lighter. The smoke was just a minor issue caused by a short circuit here. If we cut it off, we can keep going. I also checked his Huazai. If we want to keep working on this, we need to ask and confirm that this shop has already restored power, which means the whole car's wiring is live. There's no problem anymore, and I'm about 80% sure that this engine is also good. Now we can invest a bit more and give the caked on mud on this car a thorough cleaning. This is dry ice at minus 78 degrees Celsius, and I'm going to use it to tackle the hardened mud on the car. Completely blast it off. You really have to trust my sharp eye. I can spot this car among a pile of junk at the market. Here, dry ice costs 6 yuan per kilogram, and I used a total of 30 kilograms to clean it thoroughly. After washing it this clean, you can see that this car is still worth restoring. Now we can work on its fuel line. Of course, you have to be careful when cleaning with dry ice, otherwise your claws will end up like my hand, covered in little cuts like these. Now, let's clean out its fuel line. Take a guess. There are a lot of impurities in the fuel pump and tank, so I'll pump it out first and give it a good cleaning. Is gasoline from the Northeast really that bad? Over time, it just doesn't have the strong smell like the stuff from your place. Ugh, there I go again, being overly meticulous. I used the little bit of gas left to give the fuel pump a thorough cleaning, and I also powered it up to test it. The pump is working fine, but it's just that now. Oh man.
That's its smell. I kept catching whiffs of it as I was working. It all got taken away, and that's the situation now. Everything else is pretty good. The car in here is fine, I'm fine too. It's just that the smoke in this room is a bit much. Let's go outside and see if you can use this pump.
This job, man. It was all in good condition at first, but I just had to connect it and test whether it was working or not. Now it's completely ruined. All I can do is clean it up and fix it for now, use it for a bit, and once I'm sure the engine is fine, I'll figure out a way to replace this pump. I did a quick fix on this pump. Except for the fuel gauge function, which is broken, everything else works fine. Let's quickly install it in the car, and first make sure the engine is in good condition before anything else. Now the fuel is added and the power is connected, so we can try starting it. Wish me luck. This car has really got me a bit nervous. This fuel pump is pretty good. It didn't hold us up at all. And now the car is already showing signs of wanting to start. We can invest a bit more and change the engine oil, add the oil, install the air filter, and connect this plug. Now the car meets all the conditions for starting up. I'm going to try starting it again. Wish us luck. I could really use a little bit of help over here, so would you mind coming over and giving me a hand with all of this heavy pumping for a moment? Step by step, let me share another piece of good news with you. There's a big hole under this engine that's leaking yellow oil, and I have no idea what's going on inside. Remember when we first checked the oil level and couldn't reach any oil? This thing is really a handful, like a donkey that pulls but a horse that doesn't. At first I didn't even notice there was a big hole here, but luckily the coil inside didn't get into this hole, so I can easily patch it up. But you need to wear sunglasses. It wasted a bit of my time, but this hole was easy to fix. What a pity. I also discovered inside this cover that this German car was actually made in Austria. And that's not all. I added another bucket of engine oil, hoping that this time it won't leak out like a sieve again. Now I'm going to start up this engine once more, wishing for good luck. See, I told you buying this car was worth it, right? Now it's time for me to use my car modification manual to look for other parts. The first things to arrive were this pair of original front shock absorbers from a dismantled car. They weren't cheap. As for the rear wheel, I found it at a scrapyard and brought it home, so I didn't have to buy a separate tire for it. The bodywork is from GA and the price was astonishing, but the finish is truly dazzling. The windshield and mirrors are from our combo set, but the price for those wasn't very friendly either. After installing this used seat from a dismantled car, this BMW F800 ST is finally fully restored. Let's go. The two of us will head out now for a test ride. This time, the BMW F800 touring bike I bought for less than 2,000 yuan is finally restored. Its handling is truly impressive. Thank you for your help, and I wish you good health and prosperity. I'm going to contact your classmates to come check out the bike, so you better keep your talking to a minimum.